So one of the questions I get asked often in the comments section is, how much do you charge for your videos or photographs? And it's a question that I've skirted numerous times because I just really didn't feel like discussing it in the comments section. And subsequently, it's my money, but it always starts an argument with people. So I thought today we would touch on that because I know a lot of you are looking to start a business, or maybe you already have a business and you're struggling with trying to figure out where to price yourself. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips that I use to sort of develop my prices, why I did what I did, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started. What's good, everybody? Ken here. You're watching Original Dobo, and this channel is totally about drone and tech related content, and I often do series just like this, and this time we're picking up where we left off on successful real estate, photography, and videography. And we're going to be talking about pricing, a really sort of sensitive subject for many. And honestly, I don't know why anybody would get pissed about what I'm going to say here today, because probably most of you are not in my market anyways. And if you are, I'm sorry I stole your business. We're going to be talking about pricing. And before we do get started, I don't want to have arguments with people about what I charge. These are my prices. And the minute you start paying my bills, then you can actually tell me what the fuck I should charge. But until then, sit back, shut the fuck up, and listen to what I'm going to say. All right. So first things first, there's a couple of different ways you can price out jobs. There are people that will price things based upon the square foot, and they will typically charge, a percent per square foot. Something common that I found down here in Florida is people charge anywhere from 6 cents to 10 cents per square foot of a house. And that can make a lot of sense depending on how many photos you're shooting. Some people have package pricing set up where it's this specific price for this size house. It's this specific price for that size house, and then you have add-on services, or they may package all services into one convenient price. And then you have people that will break everything out into its own separate surcharge. So if they do aerials, they will tack that onto their photos. If they do videos, their photos and videos are all broken out separately on an invoice, and they may have different pricing. So there's all sorts of ways to do this. Now, how I developed my pricing was through follies. I made a lot of mistakes when I first started, and one of the things I made a mistake on was I had my prices way, way too low. I mean, almost to the point where I wasn't even breaking even on the work that I was doing based upon the time I was spending on some of these projects. So I had to go back and retool it. Now, how I did that is I cold called my competitors. And I cold called probably about 4 or 5 different real estate photographers and just sort of asked them, hey, what does it cost to do this size house? And every time I called a new photographer, I changed the square footage on the house and the layout and where the house was. So this is what I've developed. I don't do per square foot, and I don't base my fees on a cent, like 8 or 10 cents per square foot. I don't almost really feel like that's really fair. And sometimes it's like that unnecessary math that an agent has to do or I have to do. So for me, I set myself into tiers. Now, my base tier for photography starts out at $145 for a house that's under 2,300 square feet. That's what I do, and that guarantees the agent up to 30 photos, including aerials. Now, what that does not include is if there's a clubhouse or anything additional, an amenity that needs to be photographed in a subdivision, that's not included. This is only for the property itself. So $145 is my base. Now, how did I get to that price? Well, what I was finding is that the average in my market was anywhere between $125 and $160 for homes that were about 2,300 square feet. So my pricing is sort of somewhere in the middle. Now, my background before I ever started YouTube or doing anything sort of technical was I was in automotive. I was a mechanic and a shop manager. So for me, I had a philosophy in my mind when I ran my store that I never wanted to have empty bays because nobody wanted to bring their car to a mechanic shop that had empty bays because they were afraid they were going to get ripped off. The other thing was if the price was too good to be true, they were sort of suspect of it. They almost associated quality with the price. So because of that, I always found that somewhere in the middle is where people would tend to flock to. And 145 was that happy sweet spot where I didn't get a lot of conflict from agents. I still had enough of margin to where I didn't feel like I was just breaking even, that I actually was making profit for the time that I was spending on a property. So what do I do for properties that are over 2,300 square feet? Well, I increase the price by $25 per every 500 square foot that a house is additional. Up to 3,000 or 3,500 square foot, I'll increase it by $20 to $25, somewhere in there, for every 500 square foot. Sorry, and that again is pretty good for me because most of the houses down here are sub 2,500 square feet. And of course, there's certain agents that I'll actually give price breaks on for things like that, like things like this, because maybe they shoot multiple houses with me and they're just such a high producing, high volume client that I'm going to say, okay, well, for anything over this price, I'm just going to charge you a flat 160. I'm not going to, do the balloons here. But if it's somebody I don't know, I do use that rate of where it's $20 up to a certain square foot. Now, that $1 million house that I shot, we actually charged $350 for those photos for that house. That was 6,500 square feet. So if you broke it down, yeah, I mean, it was a little bit more than the normal, but what I did was I applied the 3 times rule to my pricing, and I came up with $350. So basically 145 times 3, and it was somewhere in there. It was like a little less than $400, so to speak. But again, this is one of my highest producing clients, so I was giving her a bit of a break, and it was 88 images in total is what they received. Now, the reason why I did charge so much is because we were there for quite a long amount of time. Now, we were probably there a bit longer because we were filming video as well. And I'm going to touch on my video pricing here in a moment, but I just wanted to quickly get the photography pricing out of the way. Now, again, I'm trying to also be competitive, but not go broke with this as well. Every market is different, so take that for what it is. Some markets you can charge more. Florida's market is really, really weird. Photography is just genuinely cheap down here for some reason, as to where my counterparts up north, they can charge a heck of a lot more, and that's totally normal, as to where down here, most realtors aren't even looking to do professional photography. They're happy with their cell phone. So you got to keep that in mind. You got to have conversations with them as you go through this. Now for video, this is where video gets a little bit goofy because one would automatically assume video is more. But what I'm finding is most of these people who are doing the video are just using their iPhone. And most agents couldn't even tell you if you use a DSLR camera or an iPhone because some of them aren't even on site when we are shooting these videos. So because of that, and I'm up against clients that are charging $150, or I should say competitors that are charging $150, I had to set sort of tiers and brackets for my pricing. Now, I do very professional style videos, and not every home that you are going to do is going to be $1 million listing. The reality is you're going to deal with a lot of homes that are just basically in the suburbs. And what I did was I said, okay, I have a very, very basic tier, minimal editing, no overlays, no color correction, shot in a standard profile. That's $175 is what I've told agents. I give them a sample of that work and let them see that. I have a tier that's $225, which is overlays, a little bit of color correction, and a little bit more of a dynamic edit. I let them see that. And then I have a tier that's $275 all the way up to, let's say, $400. And I let them make the decision on what they want to do with the house. Now, most of my agents that I work with specifically, these are the type of agents that truly, truly care about quality and what a video looks like. They want it to be interesting, but not too terribly long. So most of them side in that sweet spot of the $300 to $250 mark is where they go to. But some agents want something just a little bit shorter. They don't want to be so involved with it. And that's fine. And for those agents, I have no problem doing $175 because at the end of the day, I have no cost involved other than some time to shoot the video. And truth be told, video is actually faster for me to shoot than photos. Photos, you have to be a lot more methodical on where you're taking those angles. And as to where videos, you can push into a room multiple times without ever having to set foot down with a tripod. And it's just easier to do in most cases. Now, the more complex edits, like that $1 million listing, took me about 4 hours to edit, and I had about 8 hours total time vested into just that entire shoot itself. So yeah, that one's gonna warrant a lot more money. But what I'm trying to say is every market is different, and you have to have a conversation, a physical conversation with your agents to determine exactly what they want or what they expect out of your video. If you're not doing that, you're probably going to sell yourself short or bill out a job that may not require as much work, and you're going to piss somebody off in the end. You got to sort of strike that happy medium. But again, these are my prices. This is what I've done that's worked well for me. And I continue to grow my business, and I continue to gain new clients from photographers that nickel and dime agents. That's my bread and butter, is that I will not nickel and dime them. And they know that. They have a very flat, simple price to follow, and it's just easy. But always make sure you confirm price in before you just do a shoot. Because a couple of times I haven't, or an agent said, oh, yeah, I want everything, but they weren't really specific. I get there, I shoot the entire house, I do video and photo, and then in the end they were like, oh, I just wanted photos. And I'm sort of like, okay. So if I quoted you a different price, would you have said yes? See, some of them are tricky. Those are the clients you don't want. And just always remember that you as a photographer can also fire agents. It doesn't just work with them firing you, you can also fire them. And I fire a lot of agents because I want to work with a specific clientele. There's plenty of them out there to work with, and there's a lot of them that really do care about their properties. So yeah, hopefully this helps you. I know this was a little bit different video, but I felt like it was one that I wanted to answer because I always get this question in the comments, and I just felt like replying to somebody isn't going to be justice enough for this conversation. All right, that's going to do it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button. If you have any other questions, comments, my email is always there. I try to answer the best I can. Yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Stay original.